during evening, he would just walk into my bedroom. You know, he was my, actually my junior brother, I would say. So he worked very hard, and gradually on, the other people who came in, they were just administering, signing signatures and putting Lagos aside. Until we got to a place like Muhammad from Ikodu, what's his name? Mudashiru. He helped, he tried his best, he couldn't do much. We kept on working. As for, what's his name? This gentleman from Ibadan. He was a tough guy. Actually, I did not enjoy him much as I should. We got to a place like what was the name? This last administrator we had. He tried, he couldn't do much. But this gentleman here now, I'm not saying it because he's presently the administrator. He has done a lot of things for us here. Created a lot of things that makes me feel happy that, well, I got a gentleman around me. He's done very well for us.
Yes, sir. Young, what's your secret, sir? And we would like to know your hobbies, and do you still do these hobbies actively?
Well, my hobby was lawn tennis and cricket. I don't do anything like that now. I cannot even run from here to that gate.
Well, okay. So what's the secret of your, eatlessness? I would say.
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction. That's right.
Whatever God gives me, I'm satisfied. I don't look for great things like plenty of money, find way to get it, no.
That's right.
And when I demand anything and I don't get it, well, it's their own job. If they don't create it, let it stay.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, excuse me, sir. Please, what is your view in expropriation of communal lands and protection of native interests?
Communal land. Well, we're still working on that. We're trying hard to get our land back from federal government. You know, they dashed things away like it is their own property. Not everybody's property, it's Lagosian's property. You cannot just come in and allocate land for Jeremiah, John, James, and so on.
Don't have land of bearing with
Your Royal Majesty, sir, as the permanent chairman of the Lagos State Council of Obas and Chiefs, and therefore the primus inter pares of Lagos State traditional rulers, and the father figure of the state, what is your message to the people of Lagos State on this auspicious occasion?
Well, let them stop angling for money at all costs, chasing money anywhere, killing people for money, stealing. They should stop all that and move in a straight line like I am trying to move. Definitely we'll be all right. You don't want anybody killing people, bombing people, fighting because you want this, you can't get it. Therefore, I'm going to destroy it. What you destroy is your oon. Why you going to kill people for nothing. The Constitution should provide that point well for us, so that people will not just get up and create assassins. We don't want all that. We want peace.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
For the opportunity given us. We pray Almighty God, and we pray all the ancestors of Lagos, from Ashipa through Ado to your eminence, to continue to reign and preside over this prosperous emporium of economic activities of West Africa, south of the Sahara.
Thank
Long
you.
may we live. Kabesi.
Thank you very much.
Yes, yes.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, yes.
Take good part of that.
Okay.
Staying with us as you have always done of a place like this to discuss this matter. And today I am delighted to tell you that we have found a big fish in a big pond. And that person is no lesser person than the first civilian governor of Lagos State, Alhaji Lateef Kayode Jakonde. I thank you very much for giving us this rare opportunity, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, sir, we would like to go straight to business. A few days ago, we were talking to the first military governor of Lagos State, Brigadier Mobolaji Johnson, retired. And he did say that when Lagos State was created in 1967, it was indeed done to checkmate the secession bid of the Biafran warlords as they were. But, of course, that there have been agitations for the creation of the state long before that action was taken at that time. And by the grace of God, I am aware that you are one of the founding fathers of that agitation.
Came out of a feeling of frustration, a feeling of neglect, and perhaps in the parlance of today, a feeling of marginalization by the people of Lagos State. Lagos State was the capital of the country, and it was also the federal territory. As federal territory, the federal government had direct control of affairs in Lagos State, and the citizens were deprived of certain facilities and benefits which other citizens in the country enjoyed. This was the beginning of the agitation for creation of Lagos State. It began actually with Lagos division, what we know as Lagos division. But by the time the creation was done, it had to include the other divisions which were then in the western region. So that was the starting point.
Okay, sir, when Lagos State started eventually, there was the issue of having to raise commissioners and permanent secretaries as they were.
Yes.
And I remember then that the government of the day was accused of parochialism and favoritism. As it was argued that, of course, the governor was then appointing people who were his kin. Do you see that way?
That is not true. I happen to have been quite close to Mobolaji Johnson when he was administrator of the federal territory. And throughout the time that he became the governor, it wasn't easy. He had to battle, had a lot of battles to fight. He had to fight a battle between the indigenes and non-indigenes. He had to fight a battle between the youths and the elders, etc. And I think that on the whole, he did an excellent job. He did very well. And he was able to start the state off.
Okay, sir.
As he did.
Yes. When it started eventually, can we now put the administration of Mobolaji Johnson under an X-ray and see how well it performed?
I think he performed well, given all the circumstances at the time. Mobolaji Johnson is, from my knowledge of him, a straightforward person. And he was quite frank, although sometimes he hurt people, but I liked him because he was very quite frank. He respected the elders, but he never flinched from speaking the truth. And he was able to wade through the mini crisis we had at the beginning of the new state. I think that a less talented person in charge might have bungled the idea that Bolaji went through. Take for example, we had the conference, 1966 Consumer Conference, which was ordered by Yakubu Gowon, the Secretary of State. And Lagos at that time was not a state, but we had a delegation. We were demanding our own state. President Johnson had the foresight and wisdom of getting the Lagos State delegation to work very closely with the Western delegation, and it paid off. That action was, of course, opposed by some divisions, but the wisdom of having to work with Western delegation and then with the Western delegation and negotiating with the other regions of the states was indisputable, and that was within throughout that period.
That's quite interesting, sir. The next question I should ask naturally, sir, is that for you to now tell us whether the dream of the founding fathers, going beyond the realization of their dream by creation of state, was really realized or not. But before we do that, sir, the existence of Lagos State, of course, went beyond Mobolaji Johnson and the rest of them up to the LKG administration at that time. But I'd like you at this stage to make a general assessment of the governance of Lagos State after Mobolaji Johnson and before Alhaji Lateef Jackson in 1979.
Well, I was very close to Mobolaji Johnson's own administration. The successors I did not move too closely with, but at the beginning of the state, I worked with those, and I still have the impression that he was very, very successful. I'm sure the other governors did their best. They all, within their limitations, within their goals, set goals, try to serve the Lagos State. And all those administrations are built on what others had established. So there was not one single administration to my mind that did not make a mark in Lagos State. They left their marks for the other governors to leave theirs.
Well, sir, it is.
We never had a bad governor.
Okay.
Or a lazy one.
Okay, sir. And then came 1979 when Alhaji Lateef Jackson emerged the first civilian governor of Lagos State. Right now, sir, if we want to begin to discuss the issues of the successes of the administration, we certainly will not have enough time to do so. But I am sure that my viewers will not forgive me if I fail to ask you that question. That you should present, in retrospect, your report card for 4 years.
Well, briefly, I think I must say we owe everything to God Almighty, that He gave us the opportunity to serve and stood by us and made us achieve our goals. Most of the goals we set ourselves were achieved within the time of our administration. And we were able to touch those sensitive areas which most Lagosians hungered for. And in doing that, we were obliged to step on toes, some toes. And you can't make omelette without breaking eggs. So we broke some eggs, unfortunately, but we had to make the omelette. The stage in which we found Lagos State was one that was yearning for development. For example, education. We met Lagos State with a cheap system of education. children went to school in the morning, some in the afternoon, some in the evening. We thought that was not good enough. We promised to abolish the system, and God helping us, we did abolish the system. Then of course we had insufficient number of schools and the inadequacy of the system, as well as the expense which many parents could not bear. So, as part of our electoral program, we decided to introduce free education at all levels, primary to university. And God helping us, we did introduce it. We also supplied free textbooks, free stationery. And I think it was one of my great sources of joy that we were able to bring practically every child of school age to school. We admitted everybody. We abolished even the common entrance examination from primary to secondary, so that everyone that got primary 6 automatically went to secondary school. And we were able to provide enough schools for everybody during our term of office. It was fascinating to serve in that capacity because we could see the result of these efforts. In the area of health, we abolished the payment of fees, even of the consultation fees in public health hospitals, and we provided food for all inpatients. Now this is because we considered health as key to progress. Without a sound mind and a sound body, the state could not go. Of course, we also had to deal with the question of feeding these inpatients, and we had a long argument on it as to whether government should bother itself providing food to inpatients. And at the end of the day, what decided us for feeding our inpatients was this, that if we provide drugs and the patient had no food, the drug could not be effective. We also provided free drugs. One experience we had was that before we came into office, drugs were being stolen in the medical stores. Well, the answer we had for it was to abolish payment and to provide drugs free of charge. Once we did that, the stealing stopped because nobody was going to buy drugs which are already marked with the Lagos State label and which in any case were available free of charge. We had this challenging task of providing housing for people of Lagos State. It was acute, and we had so many people sleeping under the bridges. I took a tour of the state. I found people sleeping in public toilets. I found people sleeping in stationary lorries. I do remember that this was at Elegbata, where at 6 a.m. in the morning people were just jumping out of the lorry, having spent the night there. I found people sleeping in markets at Ilubini early in the morning. I didn't like it. I thought this was something we should not encourage or allow to continue in our state. And that was what informed our very determined effort to build houses for the common people of the state. With all this, we thought we were touching these various problems that were afflicting the people of the state. And as I said, I believe that the vast majority of the populations saw all these things and were happy. This is not to say that we did not have a lot of critics there were many of them.
Yes, I was going to take you out on that.
There was a good many of them. I remember some of my critics, mainly among the elite class. I remember some who were products of Igobi College, products of Grades and the grammar school and Babs Academy. They didn't like what we did, namely to use the open spaces in these schools to provide more schools. They thought it was better to have the Igobi College as it was. And one told me that in fact he could not recognize which one is Igobi College, because we built about 4 schools inside the Igobi College premises. And he asked me one day, he said, which of these 4 is not Igobi College? So what we did eventually was to rename all the other 4, give them new names, and retain the original one. Now we had to do that. We had to cater for the greater masses of our people. And those who were hurt, we just had to appeal to them, to be patient, and to forgive us if we offended. But it was something that had to be done. And I think we did it.
Well, so that's an impressive report card. But I must say that shortly after you left, things now changed. Things were now introduced in hospitals. All the policies which you put in place when you were living were changed in terms of education and things like that. And the reason at that time was that, the reason at that time was that at the time you were introducing all these programs, considerations were political, but that at the time they were operating, the economic situation was so bad that there was no way they could do it. Now the issue now is not whether or not they were right or you were wrong, but the issue now is that given the same situation today, with the economic condition of this country today, would you still do the same thing you did at that time? If you would do it, how would you source for funds?
No, I am absolutely convinced that the economy of this country can bear to have all these social services many times over. It's, as I say, I want to say that frankly, that it is rarely a question of political will. It's a question of political choices. When we took office in 1979, my predecessor was very, very kind enough to advise me that what I was preaching was not possible. I remember that the schools in 1979 resumed about 3rd or 4th week of September. Then I was to come in on October 1. So I went to my predecessor and said, could you be kind enough to tell the teachers not to accept school fees yet and wait for the new governor to come in. Then the gentleman very generously said, in fact he had been wanting to see me because he had heard of me talking about free education, this, free that. And he said, I should tell you that Lagos State has no money. Lagos State cannot afford it. He said Lagos State is depending mostly on the federal government grants. So he went for that road to say that he would advise me that as soon as I came into office, I should call for the finances of the state government. And if I confirmed what he was saying, that Lagos State had no money, I should instantly make a statement to tell the world that I'm sorry, I did not know that Lagos State had no money. Well, I respected him and I still respect him up to today for telling me his mind. Because I considered his opinion, and my own judgment is that Lagos State would afford it, Lagos State would make it. And we did. Now, it was not that he was opposed, but it's just the way he saw it. And as I said, the government has to decide on his own priorities. There is no one, to my mind, who has been able to tell us why we cannot have these services. But what most people will say is that there is no money. And I've asked some of them, tell me how much we need to have these services, and I'll tell you where the money will come from.
Okay, sir. and the money came. Well, we thank God for
Not
that.
only did the money came, we did have the money, but we also ended up with a surplus of 285 million naira in the kitty of Lagos State government after meeting all our commitments.
That's interesting, sir. Well, if we put all these things together, it all boils down on seeking for economic development for Lagos State. Now, if we look at the development of Lagos State since 1967 up to date, how do you want to assess the development in all spheres of life?
Now, Lagos State has developed very, very well. It has made itself more than established as the economic nerve center of the nation. I think by the fact of our geographical position and by the fact of our political history, Lagos has become the commercial center. So that even when the federal capital had to move to Abuja, the importance of Lagos still remains. We have had a lot of development since 1967, physical development all over the place, and the population has been rising. One of the assets and liabilities of Lagos State is population. It's an asset because every day in every part of the country, somebody is deciding to come to Lagos. When he cannot get a job, then he's advised to go to Lagos. When he cannot get on with any other person, he's advised to something. And that is why the experts have told us that the population of Lagos increases at the rate of 33 persons per hour. Now, with that type of population, you bring in a lot of talents, a lot of talented people, and they develop them here, and you have all sorts of developments which you cannot find in other parts of the country. Of course, it also has its own liability because with so many people coming in at that rate, it means that the Lagos State government must be on its toes all the time, because there's nothing you do that is enough. You'll be lucky if you are commended for one particular achievement, but don't rest there, because the problems will come and they overwhelm you where you are. So that is both an asset and a liability. But I must say that Lagos State has developed very, very well as one of the world's biggest cities.
Well, we thank God for that, sir. In a couple of years from now, we shall be entering another century, and of course, by the grace of God, having expanded your area of jurisdiction beyond the shores of Lagos State, and having served subsequently as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I expect that you will have your dreams for Lagos State. And of course, it's more important now to ask you that question because you have been chosen as a member of the Vision 2010 project. In the next century, sir, how do you want to see Lagos State?
Well, I want to see Lagos State rising high to maintain its commanding position as the #1 state of the country. I want to see Lagos State offer our people those advantages which they are entitled to as citizens of the commercial center of the whole country. I want them to have the same advantages which New Yorkers or Londoners would have, and Lagos State to be one of the best among the metropolises of the world. But one thing I also want to see is the absence or the disappearance of slums. I want to see the environmental development of Lagos to go far beyond what we now have. And I believe it is quite possible. Because you have in Lagos State a vibrant and industrious population. If you go into the market, you will find so many people, young and old, sitting by their own wares for hours to make a living. I think that people of that type, of that mode, if given the right type of support by the public service, if given the encouragement by government, will go places and will achieve the best for this country and for the states herself.
Thank you very much, sir. Just before we go, I'd like to ask you this question that is very, very personal. And I am not sure if anybody has asked you this kind of question in an open place like the television. It has to do with the source of your strength. And I remember that the campaign subsequent to your re-election for a second term in Lagos State was so rigorous that people kept wondering where you got the strength. And in fact, I was on the campaign train, and I remember our colleagues used to say then that it is when you are getting prepared to have your launch or something that Alhaji Jakonde just jumps up and heads for the next journey of the campaign. Your shadow never grow less, but we keep wondering where you get this strength from.
Well, I think all gifts come from God Almighty, and I owe everything to Him. But I do know that there is nothing that any human being cannot achieve if he has the faith in his God Almighty, and he has the overwhelming and overriding desire to serve. One thing I enjoyed in public service is that I found public service very, very fascinating, and I enjoyed seeing people removed from suffering to happiness. One of my greatest days of happiness was when we were launching, when we were commissioning the Amuwo Docking Housing Estate, and we selected a few of the allottees, and then came this man. He said, "I'm so sorry, yes." And I said, "Well, where have you been living?" He said, "Where have you been living?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I've been living in a parlor with 14 children. We have only one bed. Myself and my wife sleep on the bed. All the children sleep under the bed. That is where I've been living. And now to have this 3-bedroom all to myself, to him, he said, was a dream he never had. Nothing can be more satisfying to anyone in public service. And nothing is more rewarding than that service. I'm so happy that God gave us an opportunity to serve.
Thank you very much, sir. I am aware that you have not changed so much from how you used to be at that time, but whether we like it or not, when the history of Lagos State is written at the end of the day, there is no way anybody can take certain things away from you. But at the end of the day, how do you want to be remembered by generations yet unborn?
As one who serves.
That's interesting, sir. Well, viewers, I'd like to thank you for having this patience, and I'm sure you have enjoyed Alhaji Jakonde. We could go on and on, but if we have to do, we won't finish this story today. But if you join me in wishing Alhaji Jakonde longevity, one day he'll be back to tell you more of these stories which you probably have never heard before. Until next week, when we bring you another topic for discussion and an equally interesting and knowledgeable person to discuss the issue. I'd like to thank Alhaji Jakonde very, very much for granting us this rare opportunity of talking to you.
Thank you very much.